Okay, so now we are going to pivot to our student research track. So we have a student over here. So when we talk about medicine, we usually talk about the intersections of disciplines that are traditionally separated. But our next student speaker explores the complex crosstalk between our adaptive defenses and our psychiatric realities. Please welcome our first student research spotlight, Fiona Farid Radwa, Year 12 student at Brampton Manor Academy, the UK, and an aspiring medic with a particular interest in neuroscience, psychiatry, and medical research. Her presentation explores the extent to which schizophrenia may be considered an immune disorder and examines emerging treatments targeting neuroinflammation. Thank you, and take it away, Fiona.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak in this amazing, inspiring conference. I'm going to share my screen now. Please let me know if you can see it.
Sorry,
Can
we
you see
can't see
that?
your screen, but we did make you the co-host just now. Could you try sharing again?
Sorry. Can you see it now? Wait, I'll try again.
Yes, perfect. It shows that you've started screen sharing.
I don't know why not letting me make this. Uh, yeah. Can you see it now properly?
Yes,
Yes, we
perfect.
can.
Thank you.
So I chose schizophrenia and misunderstood disorder, and first I want to start with a brief description of what schizophrenia is. So, schizophrenia can be defined as a chronic psychiatric disorder characterized by disturbance in thought, perception, and behavior. And there are three types of symptoms for schizophrenia. So, positive symptoms are like added experience, like delusions and hallucinations. Negative symptoms are like loss of normal function, like asociality and avolition. So, a person might feel like they want to be isolated, or they might have lack of motivation to do basic tasks, and cognitive symptoms are like poor memory and difficulty concentrating. The traditional explanation for schizophrenia was the dopamine hypothesis, which suggests that activity causes psychotic symptoms, and the evidence of this comes from PET studies by Bray et al., where participants were given amphetamine, which is a drug that increases dopamine release, and patients with schizophrenia release significantly more dopamine than healthy controls, which shows that they have excess dopamine overactivity. Further support comes from antipsychotic drugs, which reduce positive symptoms by blocking D2 receptors. However, this hypothesis had limitations. Whilst it explains the cause of positive symptoms, it fails to address the cause of negative and cognitive symptoms, and this model still does not fully explain why there was a disruption of dopamine regulation, leaving the door open for alternative explanation like immune dysfunction. That's the imaging research. One of the strongest keys of evidence for immune involvement is consistent finding of elevated inflammatory cytokines in people with schizophrenia. Studies have shown increased level of cytokines such as IL-6, IL-1 beta, and TNF alpha in both blood and cerebrospinal fluid. These inflammatory molecules can directly influence brain function. For example, IL-6 has been shown to increase dopamine release, linking immune activity with dopamine abnormalities already observed in schizophrenia. In addition, inflammatory signals activate the microglia, which is the brain's immune cells, and excessive microglial activation may lead to abnormal synaptic bruising and loss of neural connection. This is supported by neuroimaging studies like showing reduced gray matter volume and enlarged ventricles in patients with schizophrenia compared to normal healthy, where they have much less gray matter, much more gray matter. Strongest evidence To me, the strongest evidence for immune involvement, which is backed up by countless evidence, is the research has found that mothers whose children later developed schizophrenia had significant levels of IL-8 during pregnancy, um, which is a marker of maternal infection or immune activation, like contracting infections or any communicable disease, suggesting that environmental factors during pregnancy, such as infection, can trigger an inflammatory response. This shows that immune activation may contribute directly to neurodevelopmental changes underlying schizophrenia. Current treatments of schizophrenia mainly target dopamine through D2 receptor blockade by reducing positive symptoms, but they don't have much benefits for negative symptoms and cognitive impairment. Because of growing evidence for immune involvement, researchers are investigating immune-targeted therapies. One example is tocilizumab, which is a monoclonal antibody that blocks IL-6 receptor. Another is the celecoxib, which is an anti-inflammatory drug that has been studied as an adjunct treatment. These therapies aim to reduce neuroinflammation. However, results have been mixed and no immune-targeted treatment has yet become standard clinical practice because it takes quite a long time to go through clinical testing process. Finally, including the substantial development progression of schizophrenia. How schizophrenia cannot be classed as a purely immune disorder because not all patients show evidence of inflammation, and immune targeted therapies have not yet demonstrated consistent clinical benefits. Therefore, schizophrenia is best understood as a multifactorial condition where immune, neurochemical, genetic, and environmental factors interact. As our understanding of schizophrenia evolves, the future treatment may lie not in replacing existing therapies but combining neuroscience with immunology to deliver a more personalized care to each individual patient. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for that. That was fascinating. Thank you so much for shedding light onto the neuroimmune frontier. Okay, so